record. Hey gang, Julia, Usher here. Welcome to my fourth competition Q&A and sponsor spotlight of the 2026 competition season. I do these interviews for a couple of reasons. One is because they give you an opportunity to get to know some of our special sponsors a whole lot better. They contribute immensely to my competition, so it's really important to me that you meet them and understand more about their products and services. Today we're meeting with one of my favorite and most long-standing sponsors, who I'll introduce in a sec. The other reason I'd like to do these interviews is because in talking with these sponsors, they often ask me questions in the latter part of the interview about the competition, questions I don't always think about, and the answers are often really illuminating for entrants. So I encourage you to watch from beginning to end. I'm going to start with a few quick words and then we'll introduce our sponsor. I do this slide at the start of every presentation. If you've seen it, you can skip past it, but basically it's here for the benefit of people who are new to my competition. And it is online. It's a cookie art competition. It's open to anyone anywhere in the world because it is online. You'll be submitting not physical entries, but photos and video and a little bit of written verbiage about your entry. It's also open to beginners to advanced cookie decorators. We have 2 skill level classifications, so it's a great way for newcomers to competing to get their feet in the door, their feet wet, whatever the expression is. We also allow entries in 2D and 3D cookie categories. 2D are typical flat cookies. 3D are constructed creations, and in the case of our competition, they require 12 cookies within that, a minimum of 12 cookies within that cookie construction. I'll pause here and say that Cookie Connection, my community-based website, is the home base for the competition. So if I'm breezing through this too quickly, you can find all the rules and the registration link on Cookie Connection in the competition overview post. And there's a quick link to that post on the side of the site. You'll also find a link to it underneath this video when it posts to social media. Competition does require a $15 registration fee to enter. That's just a declaration of intent to enter. I encourage you getting that registration fee in early, not because it just helps, not just because it helps me to plan for the judging process, but also because by registering, you gain access to the entry databases. Those entry databases contain all the information that you're going to need to upload. And I encourage you to look at that before you start creating so that you make sure that when you get to the upload process, you have everything you need. Entries for my competition are a little bit different than some others, which are based on existing bodies of work. Ours require that you create an entry afresh and that it fits the theme of the competition this year. And this year, the theme is Architect of Your Dreams. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. I talked about registering early, and the good news is you still got plenty of time to create. Entries aren't due until May 31. Competition goals, why compete? This is written from my perspective, why I like to have a competition, but I think that goals 3 through 4 are really relevant to all entrants. First and foremost, I consider competing a way to elevate your own skills, to challenge yourself to do things you haven't done before, and to learn and grow. To help with that process, we have an excellent judging team that provides some of the most in-depth feedback that you'll ever get in a cookie art competition, or any competition for that matter. And if you request that feedback, you will learn a whole host of things. So that's really the primary reason to do it. Awards are secondary, but they are also pretty monumental, thanks to our sponsors. And I just want to give you a quick tally of the prizes. There are already 24,000. That's a combination of cash and digital gift certificates that can be redeemed anywhere in the world. So I thank what is about 20 sponsors for getting us off on this tremendous foot. My sponsor drive closes tomorrow. I do expect that number to go up because I'm still working with a number of sponsors on finalizing their commitments. So that's pretty exciting. This is going to be a record-breaking tally this year for my final cookie art competition. So speaking of sponsors, as I said, we've got one very special one here today, and it is Kip Simpson of BRP Box Shop. I just want to say hello to Kip on the next slide. Hey, Kip. Kip and I go way back. He's a sponsor not only of the competition, guys, but also of Cookie Connection, my community-based website. So he helps keep that going day in and day out, year after year. He's done that for a number of years. So I'm incredibly grateful. He and I were probably two of the first ever cookie art competition or cookie sponsors or vendors, I should say is the better word, because we both met each other at CookieCon. I don't even know when that first year was.
Boy.
But we literally comprised the vendor hall. It was Kip and I sitting in a hall selling our
Hallway. Yeah.
wares. I was
Not
selling
a
my
hall like
book.
a grand hall, but like a
It was like
thoroughfare between.
exactly. It was like a narrow hall because CookieCon was pretty small then, and we were sitting outside the auditorium where the cookie artists were going to speak. I remember I was signing books and you were talking boxes. So anyway, he's also a maker of some of the most incredible boxes available to cookie artists and other sugar artists. And so I'm going to turn the mic over to Kip to talk a little bit more about his business. He's got 4 or 5 slides to share, and then we'll get into some Q&A.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay, good.
So here's slide one. This is I got your little favicon on your website, and then I went hunting for like what typeface is this? What
I don't
font?
know. I don't even know. It was made
Did
so long ago.
oh, I thought that's terrible because I was like, there will come a day where I will be able to ask Julia Usher, how close did I get? And maybe I'll shoot you an email of what it is. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's pretty close because the favicon was very small, very pixelated. But yeah, there's a little logo. But first slide is just showing off kind of a cool tool for box nerds here, which is our sample machine. It's just a CNC machine that has a little crease wheel, a little knife, and a little pen, and we can swap some of those out and do different things with different materials. But this piece of equipment is really what we use as the bridge between, or the tool that creates the bridge between suggestions from people, or challenges to make something better, or just ideas that we get to actually having a physical object. And I remember being in junior high or high school and touring a factory in town that makes folding cartons and boxes. And you went into the designer's room and they had those big green healing mats
Uh-huh.
and X-Acto knives and
Yeah, yeah.
rulers on
Yeah.
drafting tables. And, to make one prototype, hours. And pretty neat that we can have a machine like this to someone reaches out, contacts us, says, hey, I have an idea for a box, and this happens quite a lot. And just for anybody watching and listening, if you contact us and say you have an idea or a way that you think could make something better that already exists, or just something that's never existed before, we take that really seriously. Not only do we take it seriously, we write it down, we document it, and our customer service people talk to the rest of the team, and once we hit kind of a critical mass on something, which sometimes doesn't take very much at all, and we'll talk about that in a little while, we'll jump into the design phase, and all this is done in-house inside of our little factory, and we'll draw things up in CAD, we'll send it to the table, and it's really accurate, and it's kind of fun to watch it run. We have tours come through, and this is always one of our stops. And this is also, as I'm talking, I'll probably come back to this theme, which is this has served as an opportunity to meet with some interesting people. We had a machine before this one. When we started in 2005, we bought it. And I called around and just wanted to talk to experts and find out, what's a good replacement. And this is accurate. You can make the blade go down like just a fraction of an inch, or just a 3 decimal places,
It's amazing.
millimeter type. Yeah, and we use that stuff. But I just cold called the Berkeley College of Environmental Design and talked to the guy who ran the lab there, and it was just cool to talk to strangers who are into making things and get their feedback, real world insight versus just a glossy, advertisement from the manufacturers. And I got another number from a technician and a name. And before I talk to these people, I look them up to make sure they're not going to come steal my organs later or anything like that. And the phone number I had, it went to a school for learning how to pilot a wingsuit You know what that is?
No, what is that? A wingsuit.
A wingsuit is it's like you become like a flying squirrel. Like you got webbing under here and between your legs, and people skydive, and then they kind of like sugar glide,
Oh wow!
over the face
Wait,
of
so they're
waters and stuff.
cutting the wings for that with the machine?
No, it was just that. So your puzzlement is matches my own. It's like, what? Why is the number I've been given have to do with skydiving? And so anyway, I don't know. I just called the guy. It was a very pleasant conversation. He gave us some really good information because this guy repairs them. And at the end of the call, I was like, hey, just to let you know, this number that I called you, it's associated with this. And he goes, oh yeah, I do that. I do that too. I go, oh, really? That's pretty, eclectic, sort of interesting. And he's like, yeah, you ever? And I was like, well, I jumped out of airplanes in the Army. He's like, oh, you should learn how to, I'll train you. Come, and I will tell. And I
Did you?
respectfully declined that invitation for so many reasons. But it's just so cool how our business, we get to connect with people. Obviously, a lot of creative people, a lot of really smart business people, but also a lot of characters, as I'm sure you know. So, yeah, this picture is a picture of this tool that we have that we get to make prototypes. And one of the things that we
How
do
long have you
is
had this tool now, Kip? Is this new?
it's new. It's newish. Yeah, I don't
Newish.
know. Time's kind of weird. I turned 53 in June, and so things are kind of. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but the older a person gets, things kind of blend together. So maybe I don't know, 3 or
Stop!
4
I'm
years,
like 10
something
years
like
older
that.
than you. So, hey, but before you move
Yeah.
on to that, tell people here who don't know much about BRP, like when you got started, how you got started, what brought you
Oh
to
yeah.
this point.
Yeah. So we got started in 2005, and the co-founders, Bob Simpson and John Hewling, came from the packaging world and worked for some really big companies and earned a reputation as being turnaround guys in terms of a bottom line, but also the culture. And they're frustrated that they did a lot of good in different organizations, but they could never really follow all the way through. So they got an idea to start their own packaging company. And I remember I was working for a school district at the time, and was charged with getting a book. Oh, this book, uh, Ideas and Innovation.
Woo!
It's basically the Bible for how to make boxes from the Paperboard Packaging Council. And I called and talked to a guy who happened to be the vice president of that organization. His name was Michael Jordan. I remember that for some reason. And during that call, I was telling him, hey, I need to get my hands on this book. And he said, what are you doing? And I told him, my dad and his business partner are going to start this. And he goes, well, I think your dad is crazy. It's like, oh, okay. I'm leaving my job to go with him, So
Thanks for the
that was
encouragement.
interesting. Yeah. So 2005, and we started making boxes for everything from like hose reels from Goodyear to like hair clips, the little cards that you
Uh-huh.
see, to just all kinds of different stuff like that. And John, our vice president, co-founder, went into a local bakery and said, "Hey, we make boxes. Is there anything we could do for you?" They said, "Yeah. Could you make some sort of holder for cupcakes in these boxes because they always topple over?" And we didn't invent these, but sort of refined the design and made that, and that's really what got us into
Yeah,
bakery.
yeah,
And
interesting.
now that's our focus is serving sugar artists and bakeries. So yeah,
Yeah, and
2005.
the one thing I want to add here is, and this uh, is so true about your company and true of sponsors I tend to gravitate towards, is that not only do you make a great product, but you're very customer focused. So it's telling to me that you led with this slide, which is talking about how you take in input from the customer to create prototypes and respond to a need. I don't know too many companies that do that as proactively and willingly and generously as you do. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone and carry on. So,
Yeah, and I think we're really lucky in that the people that we get to serve, the type of people, I think it's safe to generalize here, So a lot of business folks, but a lot of creatives too. And so having and people, no matter whether they're in business or just doing it for the love of the game, you have to manage your time still. So there's this sort of anchor in reality and the constraints of the physical world and just time, as well as the creative side. And it's just a really cool cocktail for building a person. And so that's the type of people we get to serve. And it's not just easy, but it's fun. It's fun
Mm-hmm.
work. The people I get to work with, we really enjoy what we do, and a big part of that joy comes from getting an interface, getting to connect with people and hear what they have to say, and then hopefully making something they love,
Mm-hmm.
and that facilitates them presenting their own craft and doing the thing that they love. Getting to be a part of something that someone's doing because they have uh, uh, just an impulse to express themselves through art is, I don't know, it's a gift. It's very cool. Not a lot of people get to go to work and get to be a part of someone else's quest like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds sort of cheesy maybe, but
No,
it's
it's
real,
yeah.
and it's neat to see every day in my colleagues.
Great.
So
Well,
yeah, another aspect of this, real
yeah,
quick.
sorry I interrupted you and I got you off track. Go
That's
ahead.
all right. That's all right. That's all right. Is we around the holidays, we'll do a thing where Haley, our resident graphic designer and box maker, she'll do some designs with some existing tooling that we have, some existing dies, existing boxes we have, and augment them usually with special windows or something like that. And this is an example. Hopefully, you can see it.
Cool.
Little
Oh
our
yeah.
Easter basket. And
Wow.
so she'll take. So we have these available all the time, these baskets, but not with these little carrots and
Yeah, very
your
cute.
cocktail. Yeah, and so she'll take that and she'll cut out the special windows or shapes like this on this tool on the sample table, and it allows us to have a really quick turnaround and iterate and experiment and really refine things without having to use an X-Acto knife or ship it out to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's nice to be able to use technology to be fast
Mm-hmm.
and to align what we're making with what's knocking around in our heads and in other people's hearts too. So please follow us on social media. Look, especially around the holidays, for these things, because what happens is we'll have maybe two or three examples of these usually, and then people will vote on them like, hey, this is what I want, and we'll do a giveaway with real deal boxes that are kind of one-offs, bespoke designs. And if it gets enough traction, we'll actually order the tooling for those, and there'll be production boxes the following
Got it.
season.
Yeah.
So this sort of like listening, cranked up to 11. Yeah, it's a lot of what makes this job fun, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty cool formula to use a tool like this to just kind of tinker around and get people's
Mm-hmm.
get them to weigh in on
Mm-hmm.
what they dig and maybe even bring it into something they could buy down the road.
So you ready to move on?
I'm
Next
super
slide.
ready.
So I just got a comment. The CC here. Yeah, I hadn't realized.
Yeah.
I apologize. I hadn't realized it was my favicon because it's so out of context and so much bigger. It's the little
Mhm.
people. It's that little icon on the upper part of Cookie Connections site. So thank you for the nod there. What is this piece and what happens to it next?
What happens to it? I don't even know where it is right now. I made this
Mhm.
last week, but um, I don't know. Does the Smithsonian, I don't know how all that works, Julie.
I don't know either. anyway, anyway, moving on.
All right.
Here's another
Oh,
great slide. Tell us what you're doing
look at
here.
this. I'm wearing that shirt right now. Different socks though. What am I doing? I'm not sure. We'll leave that up. Like a lot of different art, we'll just leave that up to the observer's interpretation. But there's a lot going on in this photo. Um,
Clearly.
the, the point of this image is really the big rolls that I'm standing on, and this is a lot higher than it looks. We cropped it out, but I don't like heights, and I was pretty high up in the air. It's not just one roll; it's a roll on top of another roll.
Wow.
But this is really just to kind of talk about paperboard, and these are little the rolls that we make people's boxes from. They can weigh up to a ton, and I was nervous standing here doing this, but in service of the photo, of the art, of the craft, and this conversation,
I hope that ends up
we
framed in
have,
your office at some point.
yeah,
That
maybe I'll
wall
have a wall
behind you is looking
inside.
pretty bare.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's very true. Uh, but the paperboard, I asked Kyle, our data engineer, this morning. I said, hey, what percentage, just cost wise, is for just the material, the cardboard itself. And depending on the size of the box, it can be anywhere from about 18% to 44%. So we're really picky about the board that we use,
Mm-hmm.
and we have really quality stuff. And we have a phrase here, a saying that we repeat to one another in conversations and stuff when appropriate. It's there's no free moves, and it's this idea of if we're looking to improve one thing, we have to be mindful that the change we made could domino into other things and end up doing something that we're so it's just kind of think broadly, think big picture, and remember that everything's sort of connected to everything
Yeah.
else. And so often whether you're making cookies or whatever widget, you can usually, it's like the three-legged stool sort of concept. You want it fast, you want it cheap, you want it to have quality. It's like, you can have 2 out of 3 sort of a thing. But sometimes in life, you can get all those things. You can get all the things you want. So this board, this craft board, and is probably the material for the boxes that we sell the most because it's inexpensive. But the other cool thing is that it's stronger. It's the strongest material that we sell, and it looks good. And
Looks really
it's really
good.
sturdy and rigid. And the reason, just get a little nerdy here, if we weren't already, is because it's less processed, so the natural fibers, are less chopped up, and so the
Hmm.
paper is less dense, so there's more air in it. And these rolls are sold by the mills by basis weight, so
Mm-hmm.
more air, less weight, stronger, cheaper. So you
Mm-hmm.
get it cheaper and stronger. So it's I really like this. I like the warmth of the natural craft,
I do too. I
and
think I think things like cookies and pop off of it really nice if you've got a window in the box too. It's
yeah, me
it's
too. And
it's
speaking of
it's yeah, it's sophisticated. Hey, speaking of windows, what?
well, that's what the little roll. See, there's a
Uh,
lot going on here. It wasn't
yeah,
on accident either.
yeah.
So at my feet there, that's a roll of cellulose acetate, which is a plant-based film, and that's what we use in all but I think 2 of our boxes. The standard in the industry is to use uh, oil-based plastic, and this is harder to use. It's more expensive, but it's clearer. And when it
Mm-hmm.
cures, the glue cures in the box. The windows, it's flatter, it's smoother, it's not as
Mm-hmm.
baggy, and so we really endeavor to use the best materials that we can, and just make boxes that really live up to being a stage for the things that cookiers and other people make.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just sort of an example. Also, in the background, you can see that machine, the little blue thing with the ladder. It's a pretty big
Yeah,
warehouse.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's huge.
that's our baler, and that's one of them. And this warehouse even sort of stands as a testament to how we operate here. When we were looking at doing this add-on for our warehouse, Bob drew up a sketch of things, and then he put it out in the shop, and everybody got to weigh in on how the production would flow and what made sense, and things changed a lot.
Hmm.
And the location of this machine, that we these big Willy Wonka tubes suck up the scrap from the cutters, and it gets put in this big brick, this bale, and it goes over to a dedicated dock that's for the scrap semi
Uh,
trailer, and it goes and it gets recycled. All the That's there because someone made the suggestion, hey, things would work better this. So you have the
so that's
president of
what
the
actually
company.
binds up all the debris.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it squishes it, and then these metal bands go in
Well,
there, and
yeah.
you can hear it running and the scrap kind of clanking around. So I look at this picture, and it tells me a lot of things about different aspects of our business, not only from a materials point of view, but also just I'm remembering the conversations we had with our colleagues. Whereas I think a lot of places and people listening maybe have worked in places like this where it's like, well, the boss knows best, and that's kind of the beginning and end. There is really no conversation, and It's just dumb to do that, and it's so much more satisfying to ask people who are in the know. And generally speaking, it makes sense to us that that's the customer, the
Hmm.
people that we build this stuff for. So it's a lot of fun to yeah, to take suggestions, like I said before, and bring them into the real world.
So, what does this picture tell us about you, though? Because you had mentioned that it's a nod to one of your favorite posters from 1980 or something. So, I don't
So,
know. I was
oh
gonna
man, you're
search. I
outing
was
me.
gonna do a
It's
Google search
embarrassing.
and try to reverse image search and try to figure out
Yeah,
what
yeah,
poster
yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. That's for the movie Tron. So yeah, if someone looks up the movie Tron from 1982, and I would go to Goddard's furniture store as a boy, and I would ask the man if he had any, if Tron came in on video disc. It's like, no, not. And then finally they got it, and so we watched it, not laser disc, on video disc, and come in. So yeah, that's me, an homage to one of my favorite sort of nerdy movies there, and it's just an incredibly provocative image. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, it does stimulate all sorts of questions.
Uh huh.
Okay, moving on. Are we ready to move on?
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay. Wow, this gets nerdy here.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. I always like these diagrams like this, and this is symbolizes some really good news that we got just last week from the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and they let us know that our patent for our tall cake box design has been allowed, which means they're going to issue us the patent number after we pay them the fee, which we did last week. So we just found this out last week, and
Excellent. Congrats.
yeah, we started this phase in 2023, but I was looking at my notes and really kind of kicked that off with a lawyer and stuff in 2019. It's like, holy cow,
Wow.
this uh this is a big deal for a little company like ours. It's pretty difficult to get a patent
On
on
a
bakery
oh, yeah,
package.
I would think so. So what makes this unique?
This is unique because of the way that the latches go in, and
Mm-hmm.
this was kind of a cool experience for me too as a designer, because I sat down and I said, okay, what are my goals? And I actually, was disciplined enough to sit down and type them out, complete sentences. This is what I want this box to do. So I want a baker to be able to put their cake into this without having to reach their hands inside and secure it, and also, free the deliciousness, like cows coming out in the springtime, from the side again, without having to reach digits in and
Mm-hmm.
potentially follow the frosting. And I made a list, and again, knowing there's no free moves, there's probably going to be some compromises I have to make later on. But let's just start with the ideal, and that's another thing we talk about a lot here. Is like, what's the ideal? Let's not pre-compromise. What's the perfect thing that we want to achieve? And I didn't have to make any compromises. It was just kind of rare. I didn't have to change really anything. I achieved all the goals that we had talked about and laid out. So yeah, this is a taller form factor, a taller box, and it's uh, one of the other things we talk about here is that making an empty box can be hilariously complicated, and one little misstep, you can make a really expensive mistake.
I'm nodding in like recognition of the unmet need you met with this because when I first started out in sweets, I was a cake decorator. And the only boxes available to me at the time, or the only ones I knew of anyway, I got through a local supplier here. They were open from the top boxes, which is
Hmm.
just a nightmare because what you want to do is get that spatula underneath the cake and be able to slide it out, as you said, without damaging the frosting. So yeah. So let
Yeah,
me ask you this:
yeah.
how did you develop those goals? Like, was that the same process of talking to a customer and they're like, "Hey, I really need this," or did it come about by sheer ingenuity on
That's
your
a really
part?
good question. The goals were really from me, but also just through really from talking to customers in the past and hearing on other projects what they weren't happy with from other suppliers, other packaging vendors, And so it's sort of a culmination of that. I mean, it's just kind of common sense. You don't want to have to reach in and mess up something that it's kind of you mess up the top of a really ornate cake. I imagine that's going to be more than a 3-minute fix, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you how many I messed up. Yeah.
yeah, that could be really bad. But going back, the genesis of this was really from a customer, and her name escapes me. Uh, she was like, you gotta do this out of
Hmm.
paperboard, because we had taken, I think, 3 different runs at this at the time, to do it in corrugated material, like what you would use as a moving box.
Hmm.
And she's like, you don't have to do that. You can do it in paperboard. And I'm like, she's like, I've done it. She said, I've taken scissors with your other boxes and tape. I have done it. And so I hung up the phone and literally, like, in that moment, started, writing notes, and
Interesting.
like, okay, flipped on the machine that we had the picture of in the first slide, and started at it. And really, this design was sort of the um, great, 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 great grandchild of a design that our maintenance guy and printing press operator, Brad Robertson, he just kind of on his own took an X-Acto knife and he doctored a box, and he made these sort of latches that reached around, and that really inspired me and brought to mind months later this design.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of a lot of different pieces, just like
Hmm.
anybody creating or designing anything.
Hmm.
And of course, constraints there. But yeah, it was a really satisfying experience, and it's like, okay, I've never seen anything like this out there. Let's see if we could, get a patent on it. And yeah, it's cool to finally. And this is sort of a example. There's a
Cool. Yeah.
We just sent out some samples too. I think this is one of the prototypes that's going out. We'll talk about a little bit about that a little later. But yeah, you pop open the lid, and then these, you don't have to reach in; they just come open. I was neat. The
It's
local
really good.
bakery,
It's really good.
the the lawyer said, "Hey, we need pictures for the artist to do these renderings of an actual cake." Like, I don't have a cake just sitting around, so went to our local bakery and go, "Hey, do you have a cake?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're working on this birthday cake." I go, "Well, I need it to be in the box." They're like, well, "Go ahead." So I had, I don't know, little Tommy's
Uh-oh.
birthday cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nervous, but
High
it,
pressure.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was all right. So it's interesting too, the patent process. We really are standing on the shoulders of giants, and there are really some clever things out there in the packaging world. And one of the government, they push back, and they're like, "Hey, this is similar to this box." And the one of them was from October 22nd, 1901. It's like clay tablet cuneiform, cave painting type. The other one like 1914. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be innovative and make something that's truly,
Yeah.
never been out there before.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's really cool, and of course didn't do it alone. But yeah, it's a really good feeling to have gotten here finally.
Yeah. Oh, so you ready for the next slide? You'll have to cue me when you want me to move on.
All right, let's go.
Are you ready? Okay. I don't
I'm
want to
super
rush you.
ready.
I don't want to rush
This
you
is
either.
even this is even nerdier.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Okay.
this is just self-evident. I mean, we don't even need to say anything. It's just
What,
obvious.
what is it?
This
Please
is
help me
a this
out.
is a, yeah, this is a parametric drawing of the tall cake box. And this, what I like about this is that, and I think a lot of artists will relate. It You build the drawing, and everything is constrained and in relationship with everything else. So the end goal is that we can open up our library of boxes, and you can just enter a few different variables, and based on the rules or the constraints that have been built into the drawing, it'll morph and jump to the dimensions that you entered,
Hmm.
and everything will change as you would want it to.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to draw everything from scratch. There's still
Mm-hmm.
quite a few drawings that we do sort of take production boxes and alter them in a way that's not using a parametric drawing. But I really like this because it forces the designers here to sit down and think about, well, why? Like, why are you doing this? Why is this line, 5/32 less or shorter than this edge? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way to do this that's better? And so
Mhm.
establishing all those relationships, I really like that. Plus, feels kind of magical that you
Mhm.
just, it's like, hey, a customer called, they're interested in a box of size, and you open it up, and something that we developed like
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
that's pretty complicated. It's like bam, in just a few seconds, you've got it. So
I don't think,
yeah,
but I mean, listening to the last few slides, I don't think most cookie decorators or bakers recognize how much complexity goes into what appears to be a simple box, and how much, not only how much complexity, but how much thought, care, love, attention to detail. So this is pretty eye opening to me.
well, and I really appreciate you saying that because when you buy a package to the software to draw these sorts of things, it's an industry specific thing, and it comes with a library, and that library has the most of the box styles that you would find in this book that I
Uh-huh.
referenced before, and but they're kind of the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and boxes aren't cheap. I mean, they're expensive to ship, and again, we're here to serve the vision of the artists, the people that trust us enough in terms of quality that we're going to give them something that's worthy of what they've spent so much time, not only in those things that themselves, but also just everything that led up to that point. All the skill, all the resources that they've invested in themselves, and to have the tools that they need to make their own thing. So it's something that we take really seriously. And the more I do this work, the more I really believe that quality and overall refinement is more a matter of will than it is resources, and including time. We're a laughably small company for our industry. We're really, really tiny. I mean, I'm talking to you from a great big building. I mean, you saw that warehouse picture,
Mm-hmm.
but we have less than 40 people here,
Mm-hmm.
and I've worked in other folding carton places like Fortune 50 companies. I mean, huge places. So um, we want to make things that we're proud of, and more than that, we want to make things that people love. That so taking the time to move something just for aesthetics, a 64th of an inch or even smaller, because we think it'll, all this will slide in better. No one will ever consciously pick up on that,
Mm-hmm.
or we will not be getting a message or a voicemail or anything that's saying, "Hey, thanks." I see you, that, but overall, if I believe, and the people I work with, they believe too, that all these little decisions we're making, all this little extra effort, all that is really about craft and about pride and about love and about service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe that even though we're small, that that comes through,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and contributes to just being able to survive as a company, in an ocean of sharks,
Mm-hmm.
really big outfits, because we are taking the time, we are having conversations with one another and with customers. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, it is just an empty box, but there's a lot of opportunity in the creation of these things, not only just from a design perspective, but also in manufacturing. To there's some wiggle room where, as far as the industry is concerned, they would find things acceptable that we do not find acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
because we know we have a relationship with our customers,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to do right by them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Neat.
that's quite a little
I'm
little passionate tirade aside there.
yeah, I'm learning a lot here. This is pretty incredible. Okay, so should I move on?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, you told me to prompt you,
Yeah, you
but
have to. Okay. Yeah, you were speaking of
yeah.
teams, so
Yeah, and we don't really have a formal name for, it's like the customer success team or the customer experience enhancement team or whatever. It's just going around the table. That's Nate and Haley and Todd. Todd's our plant manager, and Jen and Kyle, our data engineer that I mentioned before, and I mentioned Haley before too. So yeah, once a week we get together and we talk about everything from how the website works to the order confirmation emails to design stuff. On the table, there's some prototypes there for drink carriers that
cool.
Jen just sent me an email a few minutes ago to the team and said, "Hey, we got our first response back from bakery box test pilots, letting us know what they think of the drink carriers, and that person's comment was, they're a lot sturdier than the other things that I've tried out there. And again, it kind of goes back to that paperboard slide. We use thicker stuff than. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. Julia, I got 2 micrometers here to get
Okay.
super nerdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you use micrometer and
I have, but not lately in cookie work.
yeah, yeah. So Kyle and I, we ordered some boxes that are really similar to ours. And if you go on Amazon, there's a lot of boxes there that
Mm-hmm.
apparently like our designs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very.
they
They're
they stole
identical.
our moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
Mm-hmm.
movie Breakin' and Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. They stole our moves. And we measured the caliper. So that was like 16,000, like 0.016 inches. And then, but ours, the thinnest one is like 4,000 more.
Oh
So
wow.
that's
Yeah.
like, it's kind of hard to see. And that's the minimum. We usually jump up to 24. So that
Big
difference
difference.
matters. Yeah. And because there's no middleman, we're not always the cheapest that you can get. But when you buy boxes from us, you're paying for the stuff itself. You're not paying for all these intermediaries and stuff. So, whether it's the window film that I mentioned or the thickness and the sturdiness and the overall sort of polish of the structure itself, you can feel that value. You can see it,
Mm-hmm.
and the customers of our customers can see it and feel it too. So, yeah, I brought that micrometer from home. So, thank you for indulging me.
You're
In
welcome.
show and tell there. Yeah, people are like, what, this guy, what? Like,
So
you
if people
expecting
have
me to say yes?
so people have a box idea, then and just remind us of the process for getting that to
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's go to so they have a box idea, and we'll go to the next slide, but not yet.
Okay.
So what happens is Jen will say, "Hey, we're getting a lot of requests for fill in the blank, this sort of box," and I think looking out there that yeah, this is something we could really help people. And Kyle will do competitive intelligence, so look at what our competitors have, what else is out there in the world, in Europe and other places that maybe don't even sell in the lower 48, which is the majority of our market, and just see, is there something missing here? And I always take, it's like, well, why doesn't this exist? Is it because no one's listening and we're just geniuses that we came up with, that we actually took the time to listen to our customers? Or is it because others have tried and it's really hard, or, you can't violate the laws of physics? And I always default to the option that, I mean, I get to work with some really smart, driven, thoughtful people, but money's involved. So if some other big company that we compete against, if it was viable, they probably would have done it. So there's a lot of things that we do here that I'll hear myself say to the team, like, this is where our competitors give up.
Mm-hmm.
But we have enough history working together that it's like, yeah, there's a really good chance we're going to break through. And so we'll keep pushing, and we do. We have some products that we actually have that we sell, like our one piece boxes that are,
Mm-hmm.
instead of a big lid, they're attached. And there's some challenges there from a manufacturing perspective, but I think I may have talked about the last time we did an interview like this. It's 30% less for it to be one piece, because it's less expensive to manufacture, because just one process, one make
Mm-hmm.
ready versus two. So there's some things that we bring to the table that our competitors don't. I'm really proud of the innovations out on the shop floor to get us there. So if someone contacts us and they say, "Hey, I have an idea," Jen will share that with this team of people that you see in the photo, and Kyle will sort of dig in and look at it in a nuts and bolts way and talk with Todd about, can our machines do this? What are the rates? What are the costs? Things like that, and we'll have a go at it. And that kind of brings us to the next slide.
Okay.
And there it is. This is the cookie presentation box, which is just this. Ta-da! It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a
Look at.
it's a box.
I just.
A
I just want to
lid.
remark. Flip it up. Flip. Yeah. Look how clear that cellophane Is that the right word for
Mhm.
it? It is,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how
yeah.
tight it
Film
is.
cello.
Yeah.
Cello is kind of yeah, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, and but
We
I think it's really important for the display of these items, especially not easy to do in a box that big, I imagine, where the window's so big.
Yeah, yeah, you said it. The we I might have brought this up before, but we had a technician come in to work on some of our capital equipment. We're like, hey, we'd really like this to be better. And he's like, these are the best I've ever seen. And the operator you have is probably the like one of five in the world that can do this. And it's like, oh, okay. That's pretty cool to hear from someone who stands in the nexus of, all of this stuff, literally across the planet, serving machines like this. That's
Hmm.
pretty, that's high praise. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, so we had Penny White from Cookies by
Oh
Penny
yeah. Hmm.
and Jenny Levick from Cookie Creator. They apparently were having a conversation and they suggested a box in this form factor and of these dimensions. And so just to kind of continue from the last slide, we talk about it and then hand it off to Nate, who develops a prototype, and we kind of work out the details there and refine that as best that we can. And then we enlist or invite people to shake these out like a test pilot would on a prototypical plane. And so this time, Jenny and Penny actually solicited people to step up and answer the call and become part of the roster for us to send out samples that we made and then give us feedback. And we really work to make that process as um, easy as possible. A little QR code, and you fill out a survey, and the survey is usually like 3 questions. That's it,
Hmm.
and refine it. And the sample sizes are it's not super scientific, and we're not getting thousands of people, but we're getting enough people. We're not sugar artists. We're not bakers. So it's really important, and we have a direct relationship with the people that use our stuff. So, and
Hmm.
we build this stuff, we design
Hmm.
this stuff. So it makes sense to leverage that relationship, this connection that we have, and it's kind of our secret weapon that
Well,
our
I think
competitors.
also people that are involved in the design process are going to be more invested in the product when it comes out and have more, be good spokespeople for the company too. So I think, you're serving that, it's a win-win kind of situation for everybody, which is what's really neat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% true, and it's just a cool. It's not super complicated the way this works, but it's just really cool. And there's insights that we've gotten from people that we just missed that saved us from making some expensive mistakes,
Hmm.
and also going the other way helped us to just put out a better box than we would have just left to our own devices.
Hmm.
Because these are being tested in the field, in a real
Hmm.
world situation, and that's actually what Jenna. I really appreciate her. She was one of our test pilots and gave us permission to use this picture
Thank you, Jenna. Yeah.
from from Sinfully Sweet Cake Design, and she was one of our pilots. So yeah, this is a production box now. It's out there in the world. It's out on our website, and it's always interesting. I remember we had, and this has happened so many times where we have like 4 different versions of something and we send it out to a bunch of people. It's a lot of money to ship stuff, and you have to make the stuff, and then we get the votes in, and it's a tie. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what do we do with this data, But it's really wonderful to be able to hear from the proverbial horse's mouth of what's working and what's not, and then have something that we know people will, it's vetted.
Hmm.
It's just us kind of crossing our fingers and hoping.
Hmm.
It's we try to approach it in a reasonable, logical way. So
Hmm.
it's good stuff.
Yeah, it
Is there
is.
another slide? Is this it?
I think we're moving on to question and answer about the
Well,
competition next.
do you remember this box at all?
Yes, I got it to display a 3D cookie.
Yeah. So this
Yeah,
was we had a
a
tool
while ago.
for
Yeah.
candy apple boxes, and we a lot of our tooling, which is a big piece of plywood with steel pounded into it, and some cork or rubber that ejects the paperboard. I wish I could take everyone watching this on a tour of our factory and give you cupcakes after.
Next time you have to send a video and we could play the video.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you said, hey, it would be great to have for a 3D cookie a box like there, and pretty instantly, from in manufacturing terms, we did it. We modified the
Yeah.
tool, and this box exists because of feedback
Oh,
we got
yeah. What do
from the
I?
person in the Brady Bunch box above mine,
Mm.
Hollywood Squares style. One
Yeah, you know
Julia
why? I'm
Usher.
trying to think of what circumstance. God, my mind is like a sieve. What circumstance led me to need the box? Because I don't, make cookies and sell them anymore. But it was for a class. Like that's what
It
it
was, yeah,
was. It was for a class. I needed people to be able to take their cookies home with pride, show them around on the way out,
yeah,
and have them hold up and be protected for transport. So that's what that was all about. I love it. Yeah,
yeah,
it worked
yeah. And
perfectly.
so
I think
you
you
did
did them
great.
about a couple of sizes too. There was a small one and
Oh,
a bigger
maybe
one.
so.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah. I think
so.
so.
It's always satisfying too when we're watching TV or a movie, and it's like, what? LeVar Burton, he's holding a box that my friends here on the shop, they touched that and packed that, and now he's holding, that cupcake or whatever in a box that came from our factory in Clinton, Iowa. And yeah, it still happens. So
That's cool.
it's pretty neat that our little factory, we take this stuff personally. It Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
it's
like, just going full circle, coming back to, how I choose sponsors. Because it isn't like I'll just take whatever sponsor comes and offers me money for the competition. I really try to associate myself with companies that I hold in high regard and where I have a lot of respect for the people running them. And so, like, you hit that mark, across the board, and just am thrilled and honored to have you be a part of this yet again, so thank you.
Yeah, we it's really a privilege. It really feels good to be a part of it, and to have been a part of Cookie Connection too,
Mm-hmm.
over the years. And yeah, cool people attract cool people. That's kind of a true thing. So yeah, I've gotten to hang out a little bit with you and see the kind of people that are weaving in and out of your life. And yeah, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like a little bit fancy to to be your friend. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just yeah, I just so appreciate our friendship above and beyond, Thank you for that too.
yeah.
Really, really, it's really special. So thank you.
So are
Okay.
you ready for
I
some
am, but
questions?
I'm getting a little bit like emotional here. Okay, but here we go.
Oh man, come on.
so,
Stay stoic.
Kip sent me questions in advance that I try to think about a little bit in advance. I Last week was kind of busy, so I didn't do too much thinking about them. I will note that his questions were about 5 times as long as the ones I've shortened here. So he's got a little bit to elaborate on each one before he asks the actual question, I think.
Yeah, the little verbose, that guy. And
I like
boy,
I
hello to
like
you.
I like that though. It's just hard to fit it
Um,
on a single square slide.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You did a good job condensing it down, like so much milk. Yeah. So yeah, kind of looking through the rules, and I really like the theme this year too. This architect of your dreams. I like it a lot, and I like architecture. I read books on architecture, and um, live in the Midwest, so got to go see Frank Lloyd Wright stuff. I'm into that, so I really like, just from a design perspective and everything. It's good poetry. That. So here's my question. Um, in the rules, it talks about, and you mentioned it a minute ago, that entries must always be designed afresh.
hmm
And like the movie and TV world, it seems like companies and people that pump out content, that there's just a lot of reboots and a lot of sequel type stuff, and originality is, it feels like it's just not as safe a bet maybe. And now in a world with AI, which by
Right.
definition of what it's outputting is derivative of other things that have come before. My question is, what are your thoughts on how fresh concepts feel versus maybe even a classic idea that's getting reworked or refined, or rolled around in your head and in your heart over time?
So we have this rule. from a competition perspective, to kind of level the playing field, if you will, to eliminate or to minimize the possibility of people drawing on too much derivative stuff and claiming it as theirs. So,
Mm.
so it's there to encourage everybody to speak kind of from their heart, to tell their own story, and to really be designers. The advantage from an entrance perspective is that this is the challenge. This is what's going to force you to learn and grow. You're not given the answer. It's something that you really have to think about. You have to express yourself in a way that's consistent with you, with your aesthetic, etc. So I think there are advantages for both the competition and also for the entrant, if that makes sense. Our competition really values originality and creativity. I think that's what artists are all about, right? It's
Hmm.
not about replicating or rearranging somebody else's ideas. It's about speaking your truth and from your heart and soul. So this rule, this existence of a theme and having to create to that theme, just kind of reinforces, I think, the importance of creativity to the competition and to the artist. Does that answer it?
Yeah, it does. And as you're talking, I was thinking about the concept of a band. They want to play music from the album that they just created. And
Yeah.
it's like, come on, I want play Freebird. Play the hits.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, there's something to be said for a fresh.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
Yes. I mean,
Well,
that's how the industry evolves, right? Like, yeah, not everything's going to be hit. Not everything's going to be hit. Not everything's going to register with our judges who are evaluating it. But in the process, you'll have tried something new and different that will assure that if this one doesn't hit, the next thing will. I mean, it's just how things evolve. That's how the industry moves forward. If we're constant, it's hard to say that we all derive, as you said,
sure.
our inspirations and our inputs from different places, and they kind of all converge and hopefully something reasonably new. What we're just trying to avoid is something that's, very derivative. It's a challenge now with AI. It definitely is. Um, and AI is a whole nother story. So I'm caught up.
Do you think?
I don't know if I told you this, but I'm like, my books are two in the Anthropic versus Barth landmark case. Anthropic is an AI company that
Uh-huh.
stole a lot of basically just downloaded a lot of books from a pirated site, and they used it to train their algorithms, and my books were among what they stole. So
Wow.
yeah, so I filed some claims recently, and hopefully I'll be getting some money back for stuff that if they were going to use, they needed my permission to use, they needed to
Right.
pay to use it, etc. So I'm pretty anti AI at the moment, just because I see that there's a lot of value in it, but I see there are lots of ways it can be exploited, and already has been exploited. That isn't for the greater good. So, so
Yeah, I hear you. And again, this idea, touched a couple of times on the idea of connecting with people in art. Um, I got to believe, at least where we're at now, is that something that's coming from, a meat-based human, from their soul, something they've made afresh, sort of in the moment of
right.
now in the world, is going to resonate, or has a greater chance of resonating than something that is, pure, just derivative, just derivation
Abs-
of a
Absolutely.
mishmash, median average sort of thing. Yeah.
I will
Well,
say
I didn't know that.
our judges, I will say this. I think I can say this with some degree of certainty, that most always the theme interpretations that come back that are personal, that tell that
Hmm.
person's individual, and this one's very much constructed to do so. If you read, there's a little more in-depth verbiage on my site, Cookie Connection, in that competition overview post that kind of clarifies the theme. People, I encourage you to read it, because it will trigger some thoughts about how to make the story yours. But this theme very much encourages storytelling, and I think that always resonates with the judges, and they get to see an expression of that person in the piece. It just becomes emotional. There's an emotional connection to the piece, which I think is really important. Not just the technical expertise. That, of course, can wow us too, but there's got to be some story behind it. There's got to be some reason for it to exist. Um,
Yeah, I hope people listening are picking up on that. That because what a cool opportunity too. I mean, that's one of the most beautiful things about art is that you get to dump your heart into this, to be vulnerable,
mhm.
to get out this stuff that's knocking around in your soul and your spirit. And
Yeah, and it's an
yeah, and I
opportunity. Like, if you're serving customers on a daily basis and just churning out like the Easter cookies or, whatever it is,
Mhm.
the bunny and the Easter basket, this is your opportunity to really do something different. And hopefully, as a cookie decorator and artist, that brings you a lot of joy. Even if you don't win this competition, you're going to learn a lot, and hopefully you have fun, kind of through this process of self-discovery, which is really what it is. Discovering what's in you that can come out into cookie form, um, discovering to what extent you can challenge yourself to try new things. Hopefully that brings joy. That's one of the big goals of the competition.
and you shared, I think that the judges, they pick up on that when people
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, this,
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, I like
There's an
that.
area,
That's
I mean, we don't all like sometimes looking at an entry, you're like, what is that? So it's really important, people, when you fill out that entry form, there's an area for explaining your interpretation of the theme. That's your opportunity also. If your piece, if it's not, if you suspect that somebody looking at it isn't going to know exactly what it's saying, that's your opportunity to that's your area for your artist statement, if you will. Your,
like
area to.
the little plaque next to
Yes,
the
that you
painting
see at
in
art
the
shows,
museum.
we asked you to
Yeah,
submit an interpretation of theme, and that's sort of the equivalent of it. It's like, what were you thinking of? What drove you to create this piece?
yeah, that's
So
wonderful.
don't shortchange that bit. We'll often look at that. We always look at it, but if there's ever a doubt as to what was trying to be communicated, we'll really look at it. So
Yeah, yeah. Are you ready for the next question?
yeah.
This speaking of personal, in the theme section, you unpack, the theme, architect of your
Mhm.
dreams, a little bit by referencing the reimagining of your career and life.
Mhm.
And I noticed that the theme isn't, crack open your day planner, or what's be the engineer of your events, or something like that. But there's this artistic sort of poetic take, and art so often seems to spotlight the intersection between philosophy and just how we think about things and real life. And so my question is, how do you think about these things? The architecture of your dreams. How do you think that about that personally, especially now as you're
As I
transitioning?
transit, yeah, I do believe we're the masters of our own destinies, and that it's really up to us as individuals to find things that make us happy and keep us thriving, right? And that's where the visioning comes in. That's where the big picture comes in. That's where the dreaming comes in. And I think only once you have that dream in place, as your kind of goalpost, can you then plan your life or engineer your events. Then you start talking. Once you know where you want to go, then you can start talking about how to operationalize it. So I very much, so translating that into an entry, for instance, I would encourage people to start with thinking about what is it that they want it to say. Don't start thinking about all the techniques you're going to incorporate right away and where they're going to go. Think about what it is you want to communicate, and then start building in the techniques that you're going to use, or the color scheme or whatever that supports that mood or that dream. I view one as pretty secondary. I think that overarching picture needs to be in place first. Same is true in life. As I think about, where I'm headed, it's still pretty vague. But one thing I know I need is like this constant challenge. And so when something becomes routine, or I feel like I've exploited it, or that's a bad word, but I've developed it to the extent that I can. It's time to move on. All I know right now is that I definitely want to do something in the creative sphere, and so I am very much exploring. Sometimes that takes some exploring to figure
Mhm.
out what you want to do next. And I'm just exploring different things now. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm taking an interior design course. I signed
Yeah.
up at the New York School of Interior Design, so I'm doing an online program. You'll see some of my drawings for the apartment I'm
There you go.
designing behind me. So
Yeah,
it's
you In the past, you've sent me some pictures of, and I've told you this before, that blue, what is it, a hutch or something? It's got drawers, and it's like I think about that sometimes, like in traffic. It's
Oh,
like,
that might be
man,
my oven you're talking about. My kitchen's very
you know,
blue. Oven made.
yeah, it was something that you painted that you selected the color, and I'm like, man, she's good. So that's kind of the technical side. You have a gift for that, and I'm excited to see,
I'll say my orientation is like I'm an engineer by training. So my orientation always had, like early in life, had always been to let's plan my life. It presume let's plan my life. Let's go through steps A, B, and C. And they were, I would say that my mistake early on was that I kind of predetermined them by like what it is that I thought society would view as the best thing to do or the most challenging thing to do. And I marched to somebody else's drummer for quite a while in my engineering career, trying to earn a lot of money, trying to do things that I thought would bring me a lot of acclaim. And it took some turnaround, when I turned to culinary. That's when I think I first that's when I first realized that I just really need to be happy doing whatever I'm going to do because I just plunged myself into it full bore. And to do that, you need to love it. So
all consuming sort of thing.
yeah.
That's who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So, dreaming about what it is I want is a pretty important first step for me personally. I think also, as I said, it relates to these entries as well. You don't want to start just making something for the sake of throwing techniques in and then find you come to this creation that really doesn't speak to the theme or doesn't speak to you or, just doesn't hang together as a whole. So
Yeah, that just feels so wise to me to begin with the way you phrased it a minute ago was, what is it that you want to say? And I have a probing question for you for that, which is building a bridge here between the second and third question that I want to ask you is how, and this question might be valuable to people who are thinking about what they want to make for the competition too. How do your values tie into what you're going to be doing as you transition, but also how have your values tied into the things that you yourself have made and might advise people entering the competition to tap into as far as values?
yeah, that's a little harder to answer. My values as I approach my business are kind of different than as I approach like a physical work piece, a cookie I might
Uh-huh.
be working on. As I
Yeah.
approach my business and how I present to the community, I try, I can't say I'm always 100% perfect, but I try to be really generous with what I know because I feel like, and what I don't know, fessing up to that because I feel like,
Hmm.
or where I borrowed something, where a contributor to
Yeah.
Cookie Connection has given me an idea. I really do my best to thank that person and credit them. And I think that just back to the generosity part, I think that the reason I do that, well, I just firmly believe that people aren't going to remember my latest, greatest cookie creation. What they're going to remember is how they were treated by me and what they learned
Hmm.
from me. And so it's important that I share in that way, that I'm not just putting out one project after another to Instagram without there being some real meat to it,
Hmm.
without there being an instructional video, without there being, my willingness to answer questions about it. And likewise, I think we spur other people to do the same and be generous with themselves if you're generous with your crediting of them, if you've ever, derived an idea from them, or, if you're showcasing their work or whatever. It's that building up of others that I think, again, fosters community, causes the industry to learn and grow and advance. And as soon as you start getting competitive, gee, what's so and so doing? Or, borrowing without crediting, you start building like not good feelings that kind of bring everybody down. Um,
Yeah.
so that's how I think about how I project myself into the community. When I project myself into my own work, I just try to like really challenge myself to do something that I haven't done before, because otherwise it's kind of boring. So
Yeah.
I guess both relate to the competition in a sense, because I would say, in approaching your piece, don't worry about and I said this in my last interview to a different question, but I think it relates. And that is, don't worry about what others are doing as you're creating. Just kind of put those blinders on. Don't get competitive about it. Look inside yourself as opposed to trying to draw too much inspiration outside, from external
Hmm.
areas. And, you know, do your best in putting that forward. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be something that you're proud of, and something that's kind of caused you, that you've gotten excitement about, that you've enjoyed making, and that you've learned something from. So it's yeah, I don't know if that answered it, but
It is.
I
It does
tried.
answer it. And yeah, I think you did a great job. I watched a documentary about a comedian, and he had like a Buddhist background, and he was encouraging another comedian before he went on stage and told him, you're nervous, but your job is to go out there and be the most you. Like, and I think about that all the time, and you've touched on that, and I definitely see a lot of integrity in your work. Like, there isn't a lot of like, oh, here's Julia took a shortcut here. I never thought that. Looking and you've talked about your
Yeah, if
relationships
anything, I
too.
try to take the hardest route, just because it's just
Yeah,
like, it gives me some inherent sense of pride. I don't know that anybody else sees it, but that holds true with anything I do. Like I told you, I'm putting together the Easter table, for my family, and you asked me,
yeah,
are they going to appreciate it? And I said, probably not, because it's mostly my brother and his young teenage boys coming. Probably not, but I will, and my mom will. That's enough.
yeah. And there's you definitely have a style, and remaining true, having integrity there, to your. And I don't know if it would fall in the category of values, but it's like this is a reflection and expression of who you really are. And to speak to what you mentioned a minute ago, you're not covering someone else's song.
Hmm.
It's you. And I hope that you have all kinds of entries that it's very clear that the people made something that really truly is rooted in who they are and their own experiences and the things that they are reaching for,
Yeah,
which kind of brings us
that sums
to
it up perfectly. Go ahead.
yeah, the third question here.
Hmm.
I talked a little bit about making a list of things that I wanted to achieve in a design
Hmm.
earlier, and that
Yeah.
I didn't have to end up compromising anything. And back to this phrase, there's no free moves, and typically, how we weight these different variables, whether it be in art or engineering or something, there's going to be give and take, and the outcome's going to be determined in a lot of ways by the things that we gave greater importance to, or more gravity to. So, what are the attributes or values you seem to always give a lot of weight to when you're being an architect of your own vision? Which ones do you think you'll take with you no matter what your creative soul gets up to?
Hmm. Yeah, and this might be similar to my last answer, but
Yeah.
I think truth and sincerity are pretty key to me, both in terms of who I deal with and also in terms of how I express myself. I know that I've been critiqued in the past for maybe being too abrupt, but that's me being just speaking my speaking my truth.
Uh huh.
I'm pretty matter of fact, and I don't beat around the bush, and um, I I read like a book. Like, people will know where I stand with them always. I need
Uh
to
huh.
maybe temper my delivery of that sometimes, but I think that being true to that truthfulness to yourself is also really important. Like, being true to just doing something, being true to doing what you love. Is very, very important. Like, don't compromise and do something else because you think that's what you should be doing, or somebody told you should be doing that. Like, putting the shoulds aside, I think, is pretty important. um and I would always say, whatever you do, just give it your best. I mean, for me, whatever I put out there seems, I view it as a personal expression of me. um so I don't want it to be half-assed. I don't want it to be sloppy. I don't want it to be an afterthought. If I'm going to present something, be it a cookie project, be it some other form of work, yeah, I just want it to be the best that I can possibly do, recognizing it may not be perfect. But yeah, I just hold myself to a really high standard that way. And I don't think that's going to change. I will say that's been very hard on me at points in time in life. Um, and my best way to combat that, again, feelings of self doubt or imposter syndrome, or to kind of
Hmm.
ignore what others are doing. I don't know if people have noticed, but I don't follow too many people on social media platforms. It's not because I don't like their work or love it. It's often more of a conscious choice because I don't want to be too influenced by what other people are doing. I don't want it to put me into that negative mental space where I'm comparing as opposed to being really focused on productive work of my own. So, um, yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but
Yeah, I think it
that's
does. It's interesting. Even, I live here in Iowa, and one of the early investors in this company when we were just a startup, in 2005, was a friend of mine, and he's a farmer. And he told me that there was a report that he and other farmers had access to, that you could see what other farmers were doing,
oh yeah.
and
Mhm.
it really kept him awake at night. And he did a lot of hand wringing, because he would make up his mind about something he was going to do, and then really second guess himself because he was, farmer social media in a way, seeing, hey, and then he would second guess himself. And he said he just made the decision to stop doing that, and like instantly, um, it his yields and things. I mean, it made a really big difference when he just
Mhm.
kind of just allowed himself to be who he was, even as
Mhm.
someone
Mhm.
in agriculture. So it's just kind of interesting that even growing crops, this is I think it's pretty wise
And it won't.
to
That's
take
not to
that step.
say, I'm not going to learn from other people. I'm putting on
Right.
blinders, but I just choose to be more selective about how I learn from other people, just so I don't get all wound up in the comparative aspects of things. And I think a lot of cookie decorators probably can empathize with that. From just more recently in this interior design class, it's like a pass fail class. What am I worried about, right? But
Yeah.
But they had an area last week where you could upload the assignments, and one was private and one was public. And every time somebody uploaded to the public area, I'd get a little notification in my email and, be encouraged to download it. And I was like, oh my God, I just can't look at another one of these because their approaches were somewhat different than the approach I had taken. So, there I was
Oh,
like wrapped up in like second guessing
yeah.
it again,
Yeah.
and what I learned more from was being in class, having delivered what I delivered, was the feedback that we got from the professor and from the other students. And so I do take the feedback. That's not to say I don't learn a lot from other people, but I choose how I process it, if you will.
Yeah. There's a book I've listened to and read, Rick Rubin, the music producer. I forget the name, on creating or something. Like someone's listening to this or watching this right now. And it's like, oh, they know the name of the
Yeah.
book. But one of the main ideas is like, hey, you should make your art first for you. You should make something you want to listen to. You should make something that you would be a fan of. And yeah, that versus the alternative, which is what, I want to impress the class. I want to
Right.
dazzle people. And there's nothing wrong with someone being dazzled by what we create. Of course, I mean that feels great, and you get to connect with people in that way. But if that's square one and the objective, ooh, that's a rough way to
Yeah,
go.
it's
And
a rough way to go because you have to get into that person's head and begin to even, attempt to understand what they like. That's pretty hard.
it
At
is,
least
yeah,
get in
and
your own and understand that first.
yeah, 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 and and it when you win and people appreciate, what came from our hearts, uh, as a true, authentic expression, it's all the sweeter, right?
Hmm.
Because that's me, that's me that you think, that touched you, or
Hmm.
that you think's really super groovy,
Hmm.
versus someone who's like, oh, you kind of missed there. It's like, yeah, not only did I miss, but I betrayed myself. I was trying to be something that I'm not, so yeah, it
Yeah.
just seems all neon signs point to the way to go, as you've expressed it. So yeah, that's some pretty deep stuff right
Yeah, it
there.
is. Our conversations are always deep. I love having these conversations with you.
They seem to go that way. Yeah,
They
yeah. Me
do.
too.
They do.
Me too.
Yeah, they do. Should we carry on?
Yeah.
I hope
What
that
let's go.
entrants can make some extrapolations to how they approach their entries. But I would, I think the bottom line is speak from your heart. Don't worry too much about what others are doing. Really start with a big picture of what it is you want to communicate, and then design the techniques, colors, all the details to kind of support that. Okay. Oh, before I go to my closing slide, I just wanted to thank Kip once again for his amazing prize this year. The wow at the bottom kind of encapsulates the reaction. So a lot of cash, and that can be used at your discretion, and that will be divvied up amongst our 12 winners. I thank you, Kip. That's hugely generous.
It is.
It is.
This is a big deal for us too, and just want to let everybody know we are a small shop, and this is a reflection of just uh, how excited we are to be a part of this. And excited's not the word I was looking for. Um, we believe in this, and we're kicking off our own little thing here, to a marketing thing, a campaign, and we in our meeting that we had upstairs with the group of folks that you saw in the photo on the slide. It's like, oh, should this be worldwide or should it be? And because of conversations that you and I have had about just the goodness that comes from opening things up for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we made the decision, yeah, it's going to be a worldwide deal. And
Cool.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
this getting to be a part of this pretty incredible competition has had an influence on me personally, and also professionally from our organization in ways that you probably will never be aware of. So yeah, it really is. Yeah, we treasure getting to participate in this.
Yeah, and I treasure having you on board. And I hope too that, like, with the conclusion of this competition, that we continue as friends and colleagues in some other way. That would be really
I
important
dig
to
that.
me.
Let's commit right now.
Yes.
Yeah, don't ghost me, Julia. You. Yeah.
Okay. No, more seriously, just to Kip, did you have anything to add as we wrap up? Otherwise, I'll just kind of recap some things that are important for people about the logistics of entering.
Let's go to the recap.
Okay. So, again, folks, we covered a lot of terrain in this interview, some very philosophical, others more practical. You can get all the practical stuff, though, in the competition overview post on Cookie Connection. So go to my site there. Again, there'll be a link underneath this post. It includes all the rules, as well as that fuller theme description that we talked of earlier, as well as the registration link. The registration link will take you off to another site, Eventbrite, which is my event payment platform. It only goes there because I can't take payments on Cookie Connection. So you'll pay there. Once you pay there, please be on high alert for an email it'll be your confirmation email from Eventbrite, and read it to the bottom. There'll be a link there that will take you to the online event page, which is where you'll find access to those entry databases. Those entry databases are in Cookie Connection. So when you click on them, you'll be brought back to that site, and they'll show you, depending on they're four databases for each of the categories you can enter: 2D beginner, intermediate, 2D advanced master, 3D beginner and intermediate, 3D advanced master. So depending on which you intend to enter, click on it, look at it. You'll see the full array of things you'll need to upload. Some of these are work in process photos, which is, again, why I underscore the need to look at that early, so you know what work in process photos to take as you create your entry. And that's really it. Once you've read the databases and the rules, just start creating. And as I said, have fun. Speak, do something you love, speak from your heart, and focus on learning, and just enjoy the journey. So that's all I've got. Anything more, Kip?
Enjoy the journey. Yeah. No,
Enjoy the journey.
I'm sitting here just thinking about, right now there's people starting to plan and think about this stuff, and the seeds of the wonderful stuff that we will get to.
See.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
just
always like
experience.
Christmas seeing what comes in, I tell you. And also, I'm always astounded, and this is testament to how people in the past have responded to this speaking from their heart, because the entries are all really, really different. And they're influenced by the person, where they live, a whole host of factors, and it's just really exciting to see what comes forth.
Yeah.
We'll be so I thank you again, Kip. In future interviews, we'll hopefully be talking. We'll be speaking with one more sponsor at least over the next couple of weeks, and I hope to also be bringing some judges online to share their experience with judging, what they look for, what they don't look for, that sort of thing. So stay tuned, folks, and thanks again, Kip.
Thank you.